My refrigerator was hungry, so I kept feeding it. Sounds strange, huh? Well, that's exactly what happened. Food kept disappearing from my fridge. I thought it might have been my roommate John's fault. Dude basically functioned as a black hole and always took my food. Then one day John sent me a text. "Hey, are you eating my food? I never took you for the vengeful type." Which, again, didn't make any sense because he kept taking my food, not the other way around. Anyway, John thought he could talk to me that way because he was a lot bigger than me. He tried to be intimidating with everything, not just the fridge thing. But this time, I didn't back down. I wasn't wrong, so what would be the point? And even after that exchange, food disappeared from the fridge at an alarming rate. It got to the point where neither one of us would buy food for the fridge. John talked about moving out. Everything was pretty tense in the apartment, and one night, something bizarre happened. My room is really close to the kitchen, so just as I was dozing off, I heard a loud rattling sound. In the lazy haze of sleep, I tried ignoring it. Well, the fridge continued to rattle, even louder this time. Subsequent rattles ruined my efforts to fall back asleep, so I irritably shoved the covers aside and walked to the fridge, grumbling to myself that I didn't see why John couldn't get up this once. As the grogginess left me, I remembered why. That douchebag always slept with his headphones on. The fridge gave another rattle, and then a loud popping sound startled me. I quickly opened the door and investigated. All the food was gone. And not just the food, but the milk and the orange juice too. "What the hell?" I said. What is going on?" The light in the fridge had burned out as well, but I could clearly see everything had disappeared. I noticed the blast of absolutely frigid air hitting my face. You probably want to say something like, "It's a fridge, duh," but it was so cold that a part of my face began to go numb within seconds. I felt my inner resistance giving away. And from within the darkness, a pair of large eyes, the whites startling so, emerged. The eyes came closer. I saw a mass of troll-like hair. All of a sudden, the coldness enveloped me, and I was in an icy cave. I kept hearing multiple voices whisper, "So cold." The eyes and hair, a pukish orange color, came partially out of the darkness, but I couldn't see the thing's face. "If you want my services," it said, its own voice barely above a whisper, "then make sure you replenish the food in the fridge. If it's hungry, I can't enter your world. But don't think you can keep the fridge empty without consequences." "Services?" I asked. And I'm not even sure how my jaw moved because I wasn't able to feel it. "I can make your roommate disappear, just like that." The eyes blinked and became impossibly large, and I felt like I was in the presence of a wolf or some other predator. I was scared in that moment, thinking it might eat me, and as the numbness spread little by little, my terror increased. Just as my entire body began to go numb, I found myself back in bed. The pair of eyes and mass of troll-like hair appeared again, and yet again its face remained elusive. "Remember what I said about the fridge. It stays stocked, or you will suffer." So I did my best to comply with the being's wishes. I could only afford so much, but fed it like you would feed a human being, giving it a meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, while trying to feed myself with things that didn't need to go in the fridge. It was a very precarious existence, and I had to balance my budget extremely carefully. A few days after my encounter, when John was out of the house again, I heard that rattling sound again. I froze in my tracks, and then acted as if I didn't hear it. The rattling continued, followed by a loud warning pop. I reluctantly went over to the door and opened it, immediately feeling the blast of Arctic air against my face. Those large eyes stared at me through the darkness. "You've done well, all things considered. With every piece of food you give me, I gain power. I have enough to consume a human, and since you've indulged me like a good servant, I will take John instead of you. For now. After 3 human sacrifices, I can enter your world for good." When the talking ceased, I was left with a deep chill in my bones. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't call the cops. Obviously, they would think I was nuts. The only thing I could think to do would be to call the man whose room I took when I moved in. David warned me about the fridge, but clearly he had found a way to deal with it because he said he lived there for years. So I scoured my email inbox and located the email where David gave me his number. I called him right away. The only advice he gave was to move out as soon as possible. Don't wait for it to eat John. "I don't get it," I said. "How could you live there so many years with the thing?" "The roommate who used to live in John's room bought it a few months ago. Said he got it for real cheap, and it started acting weird a few days before I left. I saw the troll eyes too. I just went to a friend since I'd be leaving later on in the week anyway. Scared the crap out of me." I remembered then David mentioning he'd be staying at a friend's, moving out a few days early. At that point, I thought nothing of it. When he warned me that the fridge was weird, I didn't think those two things were connected. "Sorry, buddy, don't mean to be blunt, but if you don't start thinking about your own survival, you're toast. Get out of there," David went on, anxiety creeping into his voice. I realized there wasn't much I could realistically do. I drove to a friend's apartment a few miles from mine, then floated John a text saying that if he knew it was good for him, he'd stay away from the fridge. "Is this another one of your pranks?" John responded via text. "Hey, I just thought I'd warn you. It's your problem now." So now, I'm still at my friend's. I don't know if I made the right decision because now my friend Sarah's fridge is rattling. It made a loud pop the other night. I'm afraid they'll think that I had something to do with it since I just moved in, and I don't know how much longer I can stay here either. I made an excuse about how there was no hot water and the landlord was out of town. I'm not sure what to do. I've been trying to call David to see if he can get me the roommate before John's number. I bet John has it, but I don't really want to talk to him. Not just because he's unpleasant, mainly I think it's just because he'd be angry or aggressive and wouldn't take what I was saying seriously. The alternative is the fridge troll already ate him. I saw a large pair of eyes in the fridge last night. A voice kept whispering, "So cold." And I could barely shake the numbness away and shut the fridge door. The sense of terror I felt lingered with the Arctic chill hibernating in my bones. So far, the troll hasn't revealed itself to Sarah or her boyfriend. It's biding its time. But I know it'll come for me soon enough. And I can tell Sarah's generosity and goodwill are quickly running out.